Salute. All right. Updates on the Stockton, California mass shooting, guys. Turns out there is 15 victims, some of which was children. One was a 21-year-old adult, guys. And they're also saying that this whole situation was gang related. Wow. Check this out.
Is that I know yesterday we were reporting that we had 14 total victims. Today it is confirmed that we have 15 victims, 4 of those which are unfortunately deceased. Ages for those deceased victims is 8, 9, 14, and 21 years old. Our investigative team is pursuing all possibilities right now. So it may be 1, it may be 2. Those are numbers that they are currently investigating.
So it could be 1 or 2, but we're not looking for like a group.
They're pursuing all possibilities.
Let's run that back real quick. Here go the ages,
The update
guys.
as of this morning is that I know yesterday we were reporting that we had 14 total victims. Today it is confirmed that we have 15 victims, 4 of those which are unfortunately deceased. Ages for those deceased victims is 8, 9, 14, and 21 years old.
8, 9, 14, and 21 years old, guys. So that means there were adolescent kids that were unalived in this situation in Stockton, California, guys. 8, 9, 14, and a 21-year-old adult, guys.
Our investigative team is pursuing all possibilities right now. So it may be 1, it may be 2. Those are numbers that they are currently investigating.
Multiple shooters.
But we're not looking for like a group.
They're pursuing all possibilities. There's no suspect in custody at this time.
Hey, Positive Vibes. What's up, Miss Pooh?
This was a large family event. From what we've been told, this was a birthday party for a young child. They were coming together as a family, having a time to enjoy, and
Are the suspects members of the family?
we do not have any identifying suspect information to be released at this time. All of that is being investigated.
It's crazy, y'all.
We were reporting
One more time.
is that I know yesterday we were reporting that we had 14 total victims.
Double tap that
Today it is
screen. Get the
confirmed that we
likes
have
up, guys.
15 victims, 4 of those which are unfortunately deceased. Ages for those deceased victims is 8, 9, 14, and 21 years old. Our investigative team is pursuing all possibilities
8,
right
9,
now.
and
So
14.
it may be 1, it may be 2. Those are numbers that they are currently investigating.
So it could be 1 or 2, but we're not looking for like a group.
They're pursuing all possibilities. There's no suspect in custody at this time.
Were they all members of one family, or was this
This was a large family event. From what we've been told, this was a birthday party for a young child. They were coming together as
That's
a family.
what it's seeming like, Worldwide
having a time
Radio.
to
We're going to get to
enjoy,
that in a
and
second.
Are the suspects members of the family?
we do not have any identifying suspect information to be released at this time. All of that is being investigated.
All right. So that was one of the official updates that I have for y'all. Here go another one right here. From the sheriff's office. They gave a mini press conference. Let's see what he had to say about all this.
Busy 21 hours for us, and that's about how far we are into this right now. And so understand that a lot of you have seen what we've put out so far, but just wanted to take this opportunity to come and give you a little bit of an update of where we're at on this. Not a lot to add to it, but wanted to give you the opportunity to ask any questions you might have also. So as you know,
This is
approximately
Stockton
21
Sheriff,
hours ago,
guys.
a little before 6 o'clock, we had a mass shooting at a child's birthday party here in Stockton, in the county region of Stockton. Our units responded and found approximately 15 victims of gunshot wounds at this party.
15.
And unfortunately, 4 of those 15 are deceased now. As we put out, the ages are from 8, 9, 14, and 21 in this horrific shooting that occurred. We have been actively investigating this, obviously,
Stockton,
from the moment it
California.
happened. We've had our team on the scene processing it for the past 21 hours. And while that was going on, we were actively following up all the leads that we have, looking for witness statements, asking anyone to give us any video that they might have of this incident, and following every lead that we have at this time. I am confident in our team and with the work that we have done so far, that we will find these animals that did this and bring them to justice. But we still need the public's help on this. We need everyone who has any information on this to reach out to us. This is the time for our community to show that we will not put up with this type of behavior where people will just walk in and kill children. We all know that there are people out there that are violent and commit violent crimes. But these animals walked in and shot children at a children's birthday party. And none of us should stand for that. And so if you know anything about this, you have to come forward and tell us what you know.
It's not Texas, it's
If
California.
not, you just become complacent and think this is acceptable behavior. Any little bit that you can get us will help us. And so we are diligently following up everything that we have so far. So please continue to give us more information, and we will follow every single lead and be very detail-oriented so that the moment that we have these subjects in custody, we will be able to hold them accountable.
It was not black
and
folks.
Our DA will
Let's
be able
not
to
be
charge
racial.
them and make sure that they will never be able to do this again to anyone else. So at this time, I'll take some questions.
Sheriff, two things. The mayor told us this morning that this was actually a gang-related.
Hey, Candy Cane.
And also, I'd like to know the 5 people that were arrested about 10:30 last night. How does
So the reporter just asked him, was it gang
Well, the 5
related?
people that were arrested, that was done by Stockton Police Department, so you'll have to follow up with them on that. As far as the mayor's comments, I'm sure she was
Thank you,
well-intentioned
Genesis.
on that, but at this time, our investigation, as you know, is very early on. So we are not going to say one thing or specifically another thing until we've gone through all our evidence and know exactly that we're giving you exactly the facts of what occurred there. So we're not going
Now,
to
the
make a
first
statement
report
like
said
We're
that
gonna
it was
say
gang-related.
we're
The
confident
sheriff
that
said
this
he
was
don't
not a
know.
random act. They walked into
Thank you,
this
Jordan.
area and was probably looking for somebody in particular. Why they did that, what they're part of, who they are, we don't know. But this was not somebody who was unacquainted with them. We don't believe it was not something where the rest of the public has to fear. They didn't. This wasn't just some terrorist type attack where they walked in and just wanted to kill people. So we're not gonna say whether it's gang related or not until we have all the facts in front of us.
Sheriff, do you believe there was one or more shooters at this point, from what you've heard?
You know, we believe from what we've gathered so far that there appears to be multiple shooters. But once again, we've gathered all the evidence, we're processing it, and then detectives will continue to investigate. And it'll take a little while because as we gather the evidence, we'll find out whether there was one gun or multiple guns, or if we look at videos or we get statements from people if there was one shooter or multiple shooters. So once again, we're gonna be very diligent before we say definitively what there was.
Sheriff, we've seen a bunch of bullet
earlier
holes.
today, we did see a tow truck taking away a black Kia. Is that part of the evidence, sir? What you tell, sir?
I'm unaware of that, but it wouldn't surprise me. There were multiple cars I was told that have been towed. We did see some that had bullet holes in it and things like that. So once again, being very detailed, not knowing how they fit into this puzzle, we're going to tow them, store them for evidence and storage, and then process those vehicles till we can understand how they fit into this puzzle.
One more question, Sheriff. At one point of this investigation, would our authorities going to be releasing any photos of suspects or at least vehicles of interest? Any information so the public can help?
No,
You
it
know,
was
that will
not
be
a
up to our
black person.
detectives. If they need that help from the public, then they will do that. But if they don't, or if they don't have that type of information at this time, then we won't be able to do that. So we'll just have to wait and
Any racist comments will be removed from the chat and you will be blocked.
see.
Sheriff, how's the family doing? I'm sure you talked to them and
You know, I have not got to speak with the families. We have our grief counselors and throughout the county that are helping the best that we can. I just personally drove in here 8.5 hours from being with my family for Thanksgiving in Oregon, and so I put down my grandbabies to come hump down these animals who took somebody else's babies away from them. So I haven't been able to meet with all the families, but I understand that there's been so much community outreach to them that they're being well cared for, from what I hear.
Do we know
Sheriff,
the
the
bullet
bullet
firearms
victims?
been taken? We were told from one of our reporters at the scene that an owner of the building from near the banquet hall that firearms were taken. They were found on the roof of his building. Can you confirm that?
You know, I understand that there were some firearms found on the roof of the building, but whether they're related to this crime or not, we do not know. I don't know how many, if there were multiple or one. So we're just, again, waiting to see how they fit in, if they do, to this crime.
Do we know the condition of the victims?
I'm sorry?
Do we know the condition of the victims in the hospital?
You know, the only thing I know is that I know at least one is critical, and the status on all the other victims, I'm not sure. I have not heard.
Let's get the leasing right up out of here. We'll holler at you, buddy. You just got deported. Thank you, Jordan.
I do not have that answer. I'm sorry at this time.
Sheriff, did the shooting happen indoors or outdoors or both?
You know, it appears so far that it happened both. It appears that it started indoors and then worked its way outdoors.
Are the victims related?
You know, I don't know that. I don't know. I just know that it was a family birthday party, so I assume, like all of our family birthday parties, that friends and family and everybody comes together, and then this happens.
Sheriff, do you feel you're close to putting out some kind of description?
You know, I don't know if we're going to need to do that, or if we're going to do that. Once again, they just wrapped up at the scene, and we're still going through all the evidence that we have. So sometimes in crimes, you identify suspects, and you don't have to put out a description or anything because you identified who they are. And other times, maybe we get video and we're not sure who they are, and then we'll put something out like that. So we're just going to see how it develops. And if we need that help, then we'll come back to you guys and ask you to help us with that.
Sure. Again, your plea to the community, people who may have information out there about this.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Again, your plea to the community, people who may have information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so important here. We need everyone to continue to reach out to us, even if you think it's something that contradicts what you see online or something like that. There's so much misinformation out there. Please, if you saw something, if you videotaped something, even if you think it's minor, reach out to us. Let us know. Call our office and let us take that piece of the puzzle and see if it's part of this or not. We'd much rather get a call from you that's not related than miss something that we absolutely need.
Sure, there's so many rumors out there. Will you confirm that at this point, no arrests, no one in custody?
We do not have anyone in custody at this time with charges or anything like that regarding this crime.
Sheriff, what type of weapon was used in the shooting?
All I know is that the firearms were used. I'm unaware whether we obviously haven't had time to do ballistics and all that type, whether they are handguns or rifles or anything like that.
Do we know how many rounds were fired?
We don't know if we've recovered the weapon or not yet. We still have to tie this into what we've got.
All right, so that was word from the
About how far
sheriff,
we are
guys.
into
Hold up.
this right now, and so
We already heard from you, sir. All right, so moving on. This is everything we know regarding this situation. 15 people injured, basically 15 shot, 4 passed away, 3 were children, 1 21-year-old adult.
CBS 13.
we all know that there are people out there that are violent and commit violent crimes. But these animals walked in and shot children at a children's birthday party.
Breaking news tonight, we are getting our first look at that banquet hall where a mass shooting took place in Stockton, killing 4 people, leaving 11 others hurt. 3 of the victims killed are children. You can see birthday party balloons inside that crime scene almost 24 hours after the shooting broke out. Good evening, I'm Steve Large. Here's what we are learning right now. Within the past hour, the San Joaquin County Sheriff said there could be multiple suspects in this mass shooting. Guns were found on the roof of the banquet hall where this happened that may or may not be related to this particular shooting. We know 4 people were killed, including 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14 years old, as well as a 21-year-old. The sheriff would not confirm this was gang-related, despite the mayor saying it was. Now, the shooting at the banquet hall on Lucille Avenue just before 6 last night, investigators believe that more than 100 people were inside this particular party when those shots went off. We do have team coverage across San Joaquin County right now. Let's start with your reporter covering Stockton, Carmela Karcher in French Camp. And Carmela, the sheriff just spoke with some important updates. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Steve. Now, the San Joaquin County Sheriff just wrapped his press conference up about a half hour ago, updating the community on what new information they've gathered about this mass shooting that happened here in Stockton last night. Now,
For some reason, it paused on me, guys. It paused on me.
14 and 21 years old. Now, 5 people
from the banquet hall where this happened that may or may not be related to this particular shooting. We know 4 people were killed, including 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14 years old, as well as a 21-year-old. The sheriff would not confirm this was gang-related, despite the mayor saying it was. Now, the shooting at the banquet hall on Lucille Avenue just before 6 last night, investigators believe that more than 100 people were inside this particular party when those shots went off. We do have team coverage across San Joaquin County right now. Let's start with your reporter covering Stockton, Carmela Karcher in French Camp. And Carmela, the sheriff just spoke with some important updates. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Steve. Now, the San Joaquin County Sheriff just wrapped his press conference up about a half hour ago, updating the community on what new information they've gathered about this mass shooting that happened here in Stockton last night. Now, as you just mentioned, this all happened at around 6 p.m. yesterday, where the sheriff believes multiple gunmen opened fire at a child's birthday party. 15 people were shot, 4 have since died. Ages are 8, 9, 14, and 21 years old. Now, 5 people were arrested last night by the Stockton Police Department. But the sheriff says he cannot confirm if this was related to the incident. There were also multiple cars that were towed last night, as well as multiple firearms seized that were found on the roof. But again, unknown if this was related to the shooting. But the main message the sheriff wants to get out to the community is that this was an isolated incident.
We're confident that this was not a random act. They walked into this area and was probably looking for somebody in particular. Why they did that, what they're part of, who they are, we don't know.
They're saying
this
that
was
this is
not
gang
somebody
related, guys.
who was unacquainted with them. We don't believe it was not something where the rest of the public has to fear. They didn't. This wasn't just some terrorist type attack where they walked in and just wanted to kill people. So we're not gonna say whether it's gang related or not until we have.
Let's take time to double tap that screen, guys. Get the likes up. That's how you hit the like button, by double tapping that screen or clicking the 3 dots in your right hand corner, hitting the thumbs up, guys. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. This is everything that I know involving the Stockton, California mass shooting, guys, where 4 people were unalived. 3 of them were children, and 1 was a 21-year-old adult, guys.
All the facts in front of us.
Now, again, this was an isolated incident, and again, that he is not going to confirm if this was a gang-related incident, but he did say that the investigation is still in its very early stages, about 21 hours in, so he's urging the community to come forward with any information.
Carmela, I wanted to ask you, it was interesting and I think notable that the sheriff was asking for the public's help with information. At the same time, he did not release any suspect descriptions, saying there could have been 1 or multiple shooters. So were you able to read into that at all, that whether they feel like they have good information on who these suspects are?
Yeah, and so he did mention that. He was saying that they have not going to release any of the description of the suspects because it's still in the very early stages, again, only 21 hours in. But they did say that if they were going to put out a description, that they will do that once they get more information, or they might not do that if they already know what the suspects look like and who they are.
Keeping things close to the vest right now. We know that the Sheriff's Department working with the FBI on this in their investigation as well. All right, Carmela Karcher, live at French Camp for us tonight. The community coming together to honor the victims in this mass shooting. Brady Hablab, you see standing there near the shooting scene with a very emotional day on the streets of Stockton, right, Brady?
Yeah, Steve, obviously a very emotional day for a lot of the people that were here. And where I'm standing right now is just where that vigil took place. It wrapped up about an hour ago. And we're actually just about a couple hundred yards from where that shooting actually took place. But dozens of people gathered here today. If you can take a look at some of the video that we shot from earlier today from this visual, you can see people were crying, they were praying, they were hugging each other. It was led by several different pastors from several different congregations, all with the same sentiment and the same voice, saying that this kind of violence needs to stop. And the fact that this was involving children was a main theme and a main aspect of why this is so shocking to many of the people that were here today, and praying for also the people that are in the hospital and praying for the families of these children, of course. And that was the main thing. It was about coming together and not only praying, but also saying that this violence needs to stop, and not just to talk about it, to be about it. And we spoke to one of the pastors who spoke today. If we can bring that sound up, let's take a listen.
We can find a way to work together in love to begin to break the barriers that is destroying our community. Well, we can make a difference. We can make a difference today. We can make a difference right now. That means I don't want you to just get on my program. I don't want to just get on your program. We need to figure out what's going to work for Stockton and make a change today. Do you all hear me what I'm talking about? I want you to look around at the people that's gathered here today. People just heard about it, saw a flyer, and they showed up to stand here today. But I need us to stand tomorrow and next week and next month, amen, to begin to speak out in regards to our community, the city of Stockton. I need us to love each other enough to where when I see you in trouble, I do something about it. I stand up. And I'm not talking about fighting and trying to tear down. How do I meet the need? How do I apply balm to the thing that's hurting? How do I apply that salve that's going to bring healing to what you need?
Strong message from that pastor right there. And Mayor Christina Fugazi was also here. She did speak here at the vigil today. And one thing that that she also
Any
spoke about
racist
earlier
comments
this
will be
afternoon when we did a
removed.
separate interview
If you
with her, she
continue to
said
type racist
that
stuff in
she
the
is in
chat,
contact
you
with
will
the
be
White
blocked.
House. She says that obviously this is not something that many mayors go through, is dealing with the aftermath of a mass shooting. She also mentioned that she is in contact with Governor Newsom and considering declaring a state of emergency so that she could have funds to be able to respond to whatever it takes to with the aftermath of this mass shooting, but also to be able to bring resources here for families and to also combat gun violence. Steve.
I thought there were some really powerful messages there, and one of the things that stood out to me, and I know you were there for it in person, was not only the number of people who were there to listen, but the number of people who were there to talk as well. This thing went on for a long time. Just how many people spoke ballpark, Brady?
Hold on.
I would say about 8 to 9 people.
Now, I usually don't even do this, but let me do this real quick. Let me tell you something. To all of you people that just keep on coming in here, typing racist comments, man, there are mentally challenged, mentally ill, crazy people. They come in all colors. If we don't know that by now, they come in all colors. Just because, it may be a birthday party. What about schools? What about all this other stuff that we go through and we look at on a day-to-day basis involving people of all colors? So get out of my chat with the racist nonsense. We don't do races over here. We're not racist at all. you know, at all. Not 1%. Crazy people come in all colors. So stop the crap in the chat talking about black people this and black people that and all the man. Listen, let's not do that. We don't do that over here. That's not what we doing. It's a fact that crazy people and weird people and psychotic people come in all colors. Let's stop the nonsense.
People spoke here today, and the interesting thing was they came from all different backgrounds, all different faiths, and they all came together, and that was the special moment here, and that was one of the sentiments that that one pastor spoke with me after she spoke today. It was the fact that
I'm most definitely black. What you gonna do about it? Let's get Weeble right up out of here. You just got deported, my guy. We'll holler at you. Anybody else want to take a trip on their favorite rocket ship into the atmosphere? Because we getting all racist comments right up out of here. So whenever you're ready, type something dumb in the chat so we can go ahead and deport you. Faster than Trump deports illegal immigrants. I'm just saying, we're going to get you right up out of here.
it doesn't matter the background or what faith you're from or what side of town you're from, but it was all about coming together and working towards a common goal, which is ending gun violence, senseless gun violence.
And we're starting to see that phrase, Stockton strong, out there tonight. All right, Brady Halblab live in Stockton for us on that part of this story. And another vigil for the victims just wrapping up the Central United Methodist Church in Stockton. That's where we find your reporter, Tori Apodaca. And Tori, you just spoke with the aunt of one of the victims who was killed. What did she have to say?
That's right, Steve. Just unimaginable pain. We just moments ago spoke with the aunt of the 21-year-old victim. She says his name was Susano. He was part of her very large family. She says that he was actually a second nephew, and she was truly just shocked when she got that text from her son today, hearing about what happened.
May I ask you a question? Was the person who took out Charlie Kirk, was he black? Was that person black? The dude who the Mangiani dude who took out the insurance executive person, the boss man, was he black? Yeah, that's just another way of me saying crazy people come in all colors. Let's stop the nonsense.
The shooting last night at that banquet hall, and that's really why she showed up to this vigil today at this church here in Stockton, to try and just find some hope in the midst of all of this. You can see some of the video from that. She spoke out during it, just saying, hey, you know, I need to lean on you guys during this time right now. I need prayer. I just need peace, hope, and that's really what was just preached during this vigil. About 30 or so members of this church all coming together, really just talking about how they need to be the light in the midst of just extreme darkness, calling this act just evil, taking them back even to the Cleveland school shooting. Unimaginable how someone could act like this in a setting where there's children, a children's birthday party, as we've learned, and that aunt just kind of giving the space for her family right now to really process what they're going through. That 21-year-old who was one of the 4 victims in this, among the 8, 9, and 14-year-olds who were also shot and killed. Here is what she had to say when we spoke with her.
He's a good kid, and he went to this, celebration for a friend of his. It was his.
This is the mom of the 21-year-old that was unalive,
I don't really
guys.
know too much about it all, but it's a good family.
Yeah, you heard it right there. Just they're a good family, and that's what they were doing last night, celebrating more family, more friends. That aunt, the one you just heard from, Patricia, is her name, and she said that she also had another family member.
Can we please take time to double tap that screen, guys? Hit the like button. If you're on a mobile device, all you have to do is double tap your screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It would be greatly appreciated. It helps out the channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe.
A niece who was at that birthday party, who happened to be in the restroom. She had a toddler with her, and they were in the restroom as those gunshots rang out, and they just
of course, stayed inside there, and thankfully they were not injured. But as we know, 15 people were wounded in this, 4 people shot dead. She is asking for the Stockton community to really come together in this and to come forward. Anyone who has any information to just bring justice to not just her and the loved ones that were impacted in this, but this community, as they say that this type of violence will not be tolerated here.
Wow, a terrifying situation for those trapped in that bathroom, but also a situation where they were saved from the bullets that were flying in that banquet hall. I want to ask you about the victim. The aunt said that Susano, her nephew, died. Did she say anything about Susano's life? Anything that you could share with us?
Steve, she didn't say much, and that's because she does come from such a large family. She says over the years they have had those big family gatherings, but as everyone has grown older, they kind of have their own separate families now, their own children that they now, celebrate the holidays with. But she says that she remembers him, as in her words, as a good kid. He was just 21, so pretty young in the grand scheme of things, and really just trying to give that family their time to heal right now is what she says before she fully, reaches out and kind of checks in fully with them. But definitely just her heart and prayers with everyone that was impacted by this act of violence.
So the aunt identifying the 21-year-old as Susano. We know there was a 8, 9, and 14-year-old killed.
8, 9, and 14, guys.
Live tonight
and
in
21.
Stockton, and we are just getting started here at 5. Coming up.
All right, hold up. All right, so then we move on to 2 witnesses that describe what they seen, at this birthday party in Stockton, guys.
And I'm Andrea Nakano. We start in Stockton, where a community is mourning after a deadly shooting at a children's birthday party. Police say the suspected shooter is still on the loose.
4 people were killed. 11 others were hurt in last night's shooting. It happened at a banquet hall. Police say most of the victims that were killed were children, the youngest being 8 years old. Stockton's mayor denounced the shooting on social media, calling it a, quote, pure act of terrorism. Brad Hamilton is live in Stockton tonight with the latest developments. Brad?
Yeah, Brian, the sheriff's office wouldn't go that far, wouldn't go as far as the mayor, but they did call this a targeted attack. They don't have any suspects just yet. No one has been arrested, but this community is grieving tonight. We saw a vigil earlier today as people remember the lives of 4 people, including 3 children that were attending a birthday party when this happened. On Lucille Avenue in Stockton, Saturday night, a rented banquet hall was filled with families celebrating a child's birthday. But just after 6 o'clock, that celebration turned into chaos.
Last night, about 5:30, we heard gunshots, probably about 20 or 30, rapid fire.
Brent Terrell lives just down the street from where investigators say the shooting happened. He says the gunfire was so fast, no one had a chance to make sense of it.
Moms, parents, relatives, everybody was kind of running around frantically trying to find their family members, and then they started pulling out people, and there was a lot of CPR going on and a lot of ambulances coming and going.
The San Joaquin Sheriff's Office confirmed the ages of the 4 victims killed, 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14, and a young adult, 21 years old. There are 11 other victims still in the hospital, but their conditions are unknown at this time. As for the suspect or suspects, none have been arrested so far. Earlier this afternoon, the mayor of Stockton released a statement on Facebook saying, quote, gang violence exists in cities across the country.
Gang violence.
But this act was a pure act of terrorism, a complete cowardly terrorist act. Public Information Officer Heather Brent says they're being deliberate about what they release, not wanting to jeopardize their work identifying who opened fire.
We do not want our community to think that they are at danger. We do not believe that they are. We believe that this is a targeted incident.
But for neighbors, what they saw was terrifying regardless of motive. A second witness, who asked to remain anonymous, arrived as families were running towards the building, trying to find their kids.
When I was passing, there was like family members getting to the scene, asking, where are my kids? Like, kids just started running out. We're missing them. Where are they? Do you guys know anything?
Hey, Money Mo.
Whatever the dispute may have been, children should never be caught in the middle.
I don't know, even if it's between neighborhoods, you don't come to a kid's party, do this, you know? They got their way of settling stuff, but not at a kid's party.
And for Terrell, a lifelong resident, what he saw last night has him rethinking everything.
I lived here my whole life. It makes you second guess where you're at, makes you kind of wonder where you're going and what the future is going to bring. It's scary.
Tonight, detectives remain at what they call a massive and complex crime scene, methodically working to collect every piece of evidence to get answers for so many that are devastated by this tragedy.
We do not have a time frame, and time is not of our concern right now. Our number one priority is ensuring that we locate all evidence, that we do not leave one stone unturned.
So right behind us was the crime scene, and now everything is opened back up. So investigators, as far as a crime scene and really being on scene here, they have kind of ended that portion of it, but they are still asking anyone out there with information to give it to them, especially surveillance video. They said that that could be key. Again, no one's been arrested just yet, but it appears the sheriff's office is very confident that they're going to get that resolved soon.
Brad, I am curious. It's been more than 24 hours now since the shooting. I know law enforcement, I guess around 4 o'clock this afternoon there, had a press conference, but I am a little perplexed by the fact that now going on a day, they haven't even released a description of a suspect.
Brian, I was kind of taken aback by the same thing. I mean, we spoke with them multiple times today. It was the same update. From what I could tell, everything is just basically being close to the vest, which makes you either think that they're a long ways from figuring this out or they have people in mind. But I did notice tonight the sheriff talked about multiple people. We hadn't heard that before. It sounded like one suspect before, but now it appears multiple people are possible interests to the sheriff's department. So hopefully that gets figured out sooner rather than later. I know this community would like that very much so.
Yeah, I would think if the community had a description of the suspects, that would help them, help law enforcement track these guys down. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. In Stockton, that's Brad Hamilton. Brad, thanks very much, Andrea.
Well, we are.
All right, so that was something from the two witnesses on the scene, guys. Here's another thing that I found regarding this situation. Now, understand, shout out to my guy Music 101. He kind of broke this down for everybody in case you don't know exactly what's going on. We've heard the reporter lady basically say that this was gang related. We also it's a lot of people coming through that's saying this is gang related. So in so many words, it appears that this whole situation that occurred in Stockton was gang related, guys. It appears to be maybe Hispanic gang members that are responsible for this situation.
News alert, I'm Marianne Rafferty live in Los Angeles. Right now, a manhunt is underway in California after a deadly mass shooting. Officials say gunfire erupted at a family gathering at a banquet hall in Stockton on Saturday night. The local sheriff's office confirming 4 people were killed, 10 others are injured. The shooter is not in custody right now. Law enforcement officials say they believe this was a targeted shooting. The FBI is also joining the investigation.
Promo alert, promo alert, promo.
No promo.
I strike with another victim. MB Nell may have been involved in the shooting. I saw circulating online claiming that rapper MB Nell may have been involved in the shooting at what's being described as a kid party where multiple people were reportedly injured. Now, before we jump into conclusions, let's break down what we know really happened. I'm talking about facts, no opinion. California mass shooting, 4 dead, 10 injured at a child's B-Day party. At a mass shooting in California has left 4 people dead and 10 others injured at a child's birthday party. The bullets started flying Saturday night at a banquet hall in Stockton, where the family celebration was underway, according to police. The San Joaquin County Sheriff Office said they responded to the scene after receiving a report of a shooting around 6 p.m. When deputies arrived at the banquet hall, they found 4 people dead from gunfire and 10 others alive with bullet wounds. Cops said the surviving victims was rushed to the hospital, but their condition were unknown at this time. Heather Brand, a rep from the sheriff's office, said the mass shooting appears to be targeted. as detectives continue to investigate what led up to the bloodshed. The vice mayor of Stockton, Jason Lee, posted a message on Facebook saying, "A child's birthday party should never be a place where family fears for their lives." Lee also said he was devastated by the news because he's from Stockton and will be pushing hard for answers from public safety officials. The gunman is still at large.
All right, so I'm Public Information Officer with the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. My name is Heather Brent. Limited information that I can provide at this time. I'm going to refer to my notes, though. Shortly before 6 o'clock p.m. tonight, our dispatch received reports of possible gunshots near the 1900 block of Lucille Avenue. What we have confirmed at this time is that there was a banquet hall where a family was celebrating. We have 14 victims of this shooting. 4 of those are deceased. The victims have been transported to local hospitals throughout the area. This is a very active and ongoing investigation. Information remains very limited at this time. Early indications suggest that this may be a targeted incident. Investigators are exploring all possibilities at this time. Detectives are working diligently to determine the circumstances leading up to this incident. We are urging anyone with information, whether it's videotape, surveillance, maybe you're in the area and you saw something, to please contact the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. Our number one priority right now is identifying the suspect in this incident. We're very grateful for our local law enforcement agencies. We have called out several agencies to come in and assist, including Manteca Police Department, Stockton PD. We've got the District Attorney's Office. We have the FBI. Again, our number one priority is ensuring that we find that suspect and hold them accountable. Ages range from juvenile to adult. I don't have specific ages that I can release at this time. That's under investigation at this time.
Were the victims inside or outside of the venue?
To my understanding, and again, I'll correct this if needed, but to my understanding that the victims were inside of the banquet hall. I'll have to provide that at a later time. To my understanding, it was a family gathering. That's information that's coming in at this time. I do not have that to confirm. We're working to locate the suspect at this time. That's information that we'll have to confirm at a later time. I don't have that information for you at this time. We will not be releasing that information at this time. Everything is under investigation. So behind us, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a Dairy Queen. Inside that parking area, there is a banquet hall. It's further down.
City or county?
County. The Sheriff's Office is handling this investigation at this time. Specific information is all under investigation at this time. We will be providing an update when we can. It is unfathomable that there are young children who are harmed, that there's anybody who is harmed in this, and our hearts go out to those victims, to their families, and to our community.
Now, like y'all heard, 4 people was shot, 10 was injured, and the streets is saying 2 of them people that was killed was babies. I'm hearing some people say minors.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I'm hearing some people say babies. I don't know yet. I waited on this story just to get the full details, but time has passed. It's been almost 24 hours, and I haven't heard too much more than what originally came out. Now, A lot of people are saying social.
Now he finna give y'all the backstory. That's why I play this. They saying it's gang related. He's basically gonna tell us what the people in the streets are saying about this whole situation and why it took place.
Media streets is saying that this rapper,
What's up, boss lady?
MB Neil, he was the target. Him and his friend.
MB Mill was the target. Him and his friend. You know, that is what we're gathering. And I've seen this on a couple of channels, guys. I just wanted to bring it to perspective, you know, since everybody is wondering why this happened, who did it, you know, who could have did it or why. They basically saying it's gang related, and these are some of the gang members.
Also in the report, the investigators said that whoever was there was the target. So as of right now, we don't know. And like I said earlier, it's reports going around that this rapper, MB Nail, was shot. We still don't have 100% proof that he was shot, but he haven't spoke out, from my knowledge.
5:30, we heard gunshots, probably about 20 or 30 rapid fire.
Brent Terrell lives just down the street from where investigators say the shooting happened. He says the gunfire was so fast, no one had a chance to make sense of it.
Moms, parents, relatives, everybody was kind of running around frantically trying to find their family members, and then they started pulling out people, and there was a lot of CPR going on and a lot of ambulances coming and going.
The San Joaquin Sheriff's Office confirmed the ages of the 4 victims killed, 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14, and a young adult, 21 years old. There are 11 other victims still in the hospital, but their conditions are unknown at this time.
Fans and fellow artists have been flooding social media with messages of concern and using hashtags like Pray for MB Nail. Others are calling out fake news accounts for spreading unverified photos and videos from the crime scene. MB Nail, known for tracks that reflect life in Stockton and Filipino culture, has always represented his roots. So this news has hit his fan base especially hard. At this point, law enforcement is still investigating the situation until we hear an official update. All details remain unconfirmed when it comes to was he shot or not, when it comes to was he the target or was his people the target. No matter who it was, though, we're going to keep them in our prayers. Get in the comments and tell me what you think, man. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on all post notifications.
All right, so that was kind of like a little bit of what the streets are saying as far as the reason why, guys. They are most definitely saying that it was gang related. Check this out.
After a horrifying shooting in Stockton, California.
These animals walked in and shot children at a children's birthday party. And none of us should stand for that.
This morning, 15 confirmed victims, 4 of them killed, the youngest just 9 and 8 years old.
We believe that it was a targeted incident, a targeted shooting.
Officials say there were at least 100 people at the gathering, and so far no confirmed suspects. But authorities say there may have been multiple shooters in the attack that started inside the banquet hall and spilled out into the street.
I saw a few cars pull up, some parents coming up and being very, very upset, crying, asking where their kids are.
Gang violence is suspected.
I have been told by individuals who were invited there were people there who had ties in the gang community.
Do we think this instance of violence was directly because of that gang affiliation?
It was due to a beef between individuals. They wanted to send a message.
Gang
Authorities now asking for the public's help. And officials say they're intent on justice.
Whoever did this, you don't need to see the light of day again.
This weekend, a community that had been celebrating life, now in mourning.
There is no mother, there is no guardian that should have to watch their child be gunned down at a birthday party. It's devastating for our city.
And the mayor telling me that gangs are a problem here. She says at least 100 operate out of this part of California alone. Meanwhile, there's a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest. Savannah.
Steve Patterson, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can...
All right, so here is something on the 21-year-old, guys. that lost his life. I don't know how I didn't put this on here. Let me go to it real quick. This is one of the
A
victims.
picture of one of the victims killed, 21-year-old Susano Archuleta. Today, his family held a service to remember him. And here is what we know right now. As we mentioned, 4 people killed, 11 others shot. Among the dead are 3 children, ages 8, 9, and 14. In addition to the 21-year-old. Stockton Mayor Christina Fugazi also said the 8-year-old was a student at Stockton Unified and also said she has reached out to the White House and the Department of Justice about helping combating crime in her city. The sheriff's office has determined the shooting was targeted and was not random. Your reporter Tori Apodaca is at the scene and spoke to a family of the 21-year-old killed in this mass shooting. Tori.
Steve, the mood out here is just somber in Stockton. Over my left shoulder, you can see bullet holes in the building that was hit with gunfire, and over my right, that growing memorial for the victims.
What's
in
up
this.
with it?
Like you mentioned, I did speak
podcast
with the aunt of the 21-year-old victim who showed up to a prayer vigil today, searching for peace in the midst of this chaos.
Mothers that are weeping this day for children whose lives are lost.
My nephew was one who was shot yesterday.
In the midst of her immeasurable pain, a spirit of hope rising in the pews of this Stockton church.
He's a good kid, and he went to this, celebration for a friend of his. It was his friend's daughter, I believe.
21-year-old Susano Archuleta, one of the 4 victims in a mass shooting at a child's birthday party. 15 struck by gunfire, and 8, 9, and 14-year-olds among the others killed.
We come before you, O God, praying.
Susano's aunt, Patricia Flores, choosing to turn to Christ and her community in her grief.
It gives me hope. It makes me feel that the family's not alone.
Her niece and her toddler were also at that party, saying it's a blessing they were in the bathroom when the bullets went flying.
I guess she just heard shots and she just stayed there until she didn't hear anything.
Senior pastor Aya Luna Garza happened to be in the shopping center just 30 minutes before the shooting.
My guess is that I saw people that were there that were greatly affected.
Her heartbreak leading her to hold the prayer vigil at her church, hoping to bring light in the midst of darkness.
And I thought, the church needs to be present. We need to be able to stand up and say, hey, we see you, we love you, we're here with you, and we're willing to help make a change in this city.
Change that these children's families wish could have come sooner.
Why would somebody want to do that? If you're angry, why take it out on innocent people that have nothing to do with whatever problem it is that's got you to do something like this?
Praying for healing for Susano's father.
His son is in God's hands.
That's the 21-year-old
young lives
victim,
taken
guys.
by gunfire at a child's birthday party.
But he's going to be missed. He will definitely be missed.
Steve, at this point, we have not gotten the identities of those other 3 victims in this shooting from last night. We are still checking in, too, on the conditions of the other people who were shot in this. Of course, though, we have been seeing across Stockton today and even beyond just so many coming together in prayer, saying that they will not stand for this type of violence here.
Yeah, this mass shooting hitting so many homes there in Stockton, and our hearts go out to those families. I've got to ask you, it seems so quiet out there tonight, such a stark contrast to the chaos last night. What have you seen at this shooting scene since you've been there tonight?
Yeah, it is definitely just a stark contrast, Steve. We couldn't even get this close last night. The crime scene kept getting pushed back.
Can we take time to hit the like button, guys? It's 200 of y'all in here that ain't hit the like button. Double tap the screen on your mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, man. I know y'all hate y'all can't be saying racial stuff in the chat, but that still don't mean don't hit the like button if you're here. Double tap the screen or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Surrounding area around it where they had the crime scene tape up. We've been seeing people just showing up, kind of stopping by and laying down their candles for those victims. Still a whole lot of questions about what went down out here last night.
No question. All right, Toriel.
All right, so there was some on the victim, guys. The 21-year-old. Here goes some more on this whole situation.
For the suspect who killed 4 people, including 3 children, and left several people injured at a child's birthday party in Stockton. Fox's Christina Coleman has the latest.
4 people were killed and 11 others were injured in a mass shooting Saturday night. It happened just before 6 o'clock in the evening at a banquet hall in Stockton, California. An 8-year-old and a 9-year-old were killed in the shooting, in addition to a 14-year-old and a 21-year-old. Authorities say the shooting occurred during a large birthday party for a young child.
The numbers that we have been seeing, and this is also online, is 100 to 150 attendees at this family get-together.
It absolutely breaks our heart to have the loss of life.
We know exactly when it was, whatever your name.
Authorities say this was a targeted incident. Law enforcement from multiple agencies are working this case as community leaders condemn the violence.
Families should be together instead of at the hospital, standing next to their loved one, praying that they survive.
Violence of this nature has absolutely no place in any time, shape, or form, and children should not be harmed by gun and gang violence.
Governor Gavin Newsom was also briefed on this incident. Officials within his office described the shooting as horrific. They are monitoring this evolving situation and coordinating with law enforcement. Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Understand that you've
we already seen him
put out so far, but just wanted to take this opportunity.
All right, so they were going to end with him. We already seen him, guys. We already know what he's about to say because we watched him earlier, guys. So IGT, what was the ages of the children again? It was 9. It was 9. And the oldest person was 21. That 9, 14, another dang 9, okay, 8, 9, 14, and 21, guys, were the ages of the people that were unalived at this birthday party in Stockton. According to the news that we're getting now, it was gang related, a targeted attack, guys. Yeah, a very sad situation, indeed, man. You know, and as they keep me updated, I'll keep y'all updated. Another thing that I had in my title was what's her name? Dang, I'll be forgetting
I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well.
Is giving a
as
live
part of
press
President
conference.
Trump's comprehensive executive physical.
Caroline Levitt, that's her name. Gives a press conference from the White House. Let's see exactly what it is that she had to say regarding a vast variety of topics, guys. But that's everything I know about Stockton. Let's see if she speaks about it.
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness. We had some technical difficulties, as you could see, but I think we are ready to rock. So let's get to it. I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the presidents of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the President and the First Lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the National Christmas tree on the Ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the President every day this week, so you have me today, and then he will take on the rest of the week himself. Next, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. Two young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. One of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving.
Let's take time to get those likes up. Double tap that screen. You know, if you're on a mobile device, to click those three dots and hit the thumbs up. We should have over 300 likes by now. I know it. Let's get the likes up. Double tap that screen. You know, if you're on a mobile device, so click the three dots, hit the thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new.
Is a reminder that untold thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day. The border is now secure, thanks to President Trump, but the threat in our interior remains real and urgent. These public safety threats are already inside our land, and President Trump was elected on a promise to find and remove them, and he has already taken significant steps and made significant progress towards fulfilling this promise. But there is more work to be done because President Trump believes that he has a sacred obligation to reverse the calamity of mass, unchecked migration into our country. As a result, the Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. Any individual who threatens our national security or our citizenry will be subject to removal. President Trump has already permanently paused migration of foreign nationals from third world countries that pose a very high risk to the United States. For too long, past American presidents supported self-destructive immigration policies that allowed foreigners who outright hate our country and have no interest in assimilating into our culture. They've allowed these individuals to flood peaceful American communities. This disastrous approach has drained our welfare program, driven up the cost of housing, suppressed wages, and jeopardized the safety of law-abiding American citizens. In fact, according to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well, and I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so. With that, I will open it up to questions, and we'll lead today with Isabel Brown, who is in our new media seat. She's a very popular face on television these days. She's built a great independent media podcast and platform with the Daily Wire, and I appreciate your being here, Isabel. Thank you,
Caroline. Appreciate it and appreciate the briefing. Many Americans, in light of these recent events that you just mentioned, are starting to say that we are being invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, it's a great question. I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week.
Appreciate it, Jordan.
Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front. And it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month, but we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you. Gabe.
Caroline, excuse me, regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Gabe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro of?
You're cherry picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Following from Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
On this pardon for the Honduran president, does it at all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco-terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for your members?
Let's take time to double tap that screen, guys. Double tap the screen if you're on a mobile device. That's how you hit the like button, or click those 3 dots in the right-hand corner. Hit that thumbs up. Let's get the likes up, guys. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click your 3 dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. Let's get the likes up past 300. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new.
To defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. I think that President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from coming to our borders.
Let's get Key 123 right up out of here. He say don't like, well, we don't like you, and we're gonna deport you right now. Let's deport 123 right up out the chat. Shout out, thank you for that gift.
Whether that's by land or by sea. And he's also made it quite clear that he wants to correct the wrongs of the weaponized Justice Department under the previous administration. And Ouija, I'll call on you because I think we're wearing matching blazers today.
I was going to
great minds.
Yours. Thank you, Caroline. Sure. So just to be clear, to clarify on Jackie and Gabe, did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Brawley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco-terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that. However, the president has made it quite clear that if narco-terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing. Danny?
Follow up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So there you go. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to Venezuela, can you confirm that President Trump is going to be hosting a meeting of his national security team in the Oval Office today on Venezuela? And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort of transparency, I will confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander-in-chief. It's part of his responsibility to ensure that peace is ongoing throughout the world. I'm definitely not going to detail the specifics of a meeting between the president and his national security team that's taking place in the Oval Office, but I'm happy to confirm that meeting is taking place for you.
Can you tell us, is there still, what's the position on whether US troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative?
In Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table, and I'll let him speak on those. Ed.
The U.S. announced a trade framework deal with the United Kingdom on pharmaceuticals, where they will pay 25% more, and the savings theoretically will go back to American consumers. What guarantees are in that savings will in fact go back to the American consumer and not be sucked up by the company?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I'll get you the answer to that question after the briefing.
So the American Rescue Plan, funded a number of universal income.
Kush will get you that answer, right, Kush? My trade guy over here.
The American Rescue Plan funded a number of universal basic income programs. Now Cook County, Illinois is extending that program into 2026 with $7.5 million of taxpayer money. What does the White House think about that?
I'll also get you an answer on that after the briefing.
Hope for two.
Go ahead, sure.
And then in the interest of transparency, does the White House support releasing the Department of Defense's video of those September 2nd strikes on those military boats? And also, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David Gentile recently? He was a private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. The prosecutor said he defrauded $1.6 billion with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make. I would defer you to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of the weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made. Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then you.
In wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead.
Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains very good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead. Sure.
First one, the Venezuela strike. You said that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and then second operation?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
Immigration, during your topper you said, and I quote, leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. Can you explain what you mean by our nation's national identity and integrity and character, and how would refugees, people coming from war-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore. Rachel.
Thank you, Caroline. Just to follow back up on the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors, was there a change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that these two survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, two people were rescued and returned to Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge, no. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal under work?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, he said, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further if he wishes to on the details of that conversation that took place.
Steve Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida, and now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined, but as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate, but we do feel quite good, and we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I've got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources in Ukraine. What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation, and how is that impacting peace talks?
Well, look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does not want to see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO that are being sent to Ukraine. That's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration. Yes. There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims or the roughly 1 million people from the 18 other countries of concern know about what's going on in the review? What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously because we are not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Caroline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to you and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have 2 questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we don't get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Sure. I can tell you 2 top-level things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort, and I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications, and then of course the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these 2 brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort, and I think unfortunately these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that,
follow up. The White House today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that, ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks? And are you also going to name some of the correspondents, some which may be here today?
Yes, we are. I'm glad you noticed. Much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place, and it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And, you know, the standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, 0 credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard declared this, and then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right, and there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all, and to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go, from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false, and it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same reporter who wrote this: Biden is doing 100% fine after tripping while boarding Air Force One. Oh, same outlet, same reporter who wrote that President Trump is not fit for the job. Are you kidding me? You all see him almost every single day. He is the most accessible president in history. He is taking meetings around the clock. Another one. Biden declared, quote, healthy and vigorous after his first presidential physical. I don't see headlines like that too often about this president. Again, same reporter, same outlet who wrote falsely over the weekend that President Trump is not fit for the job. I can assure you he absolutely is. You all see that with your own eyes on a daily basis, and the president's physician has now given you all 3 detailed reports on the state of the president's health. So with that, I will leave you all and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Caroline Levitt, guys. She kind of ran it all down. Said that Trump is in talks with the Venezuelan president, as well as he dropped, some missiles, I guess, on some boats and unalive people that were still alive, guys. All right, some survivors. Trump most definitely doubled down on his immigration policy.
Congressional correspondent Bill Malugin is live on Capitol Hill with this story. Hi, Bill.
Aisha, good morning to you. Democrats here on Capitol Hill are lashing out against some of President Trump's new controversial immigration proposals, including a plan in which he says he would like to permanently ban all migration to the U.S. from so-called third world countries. Here's Democrats responding.
When he says things like third world countries, what is he really saying? I think what he's saying is he doesn't want brown people in our country. And that is disturbing, and it's un-American.
This is what he does, and he tries to stoke division and make people hate each other.
But some Republicans are backing the president's idea, saying recent headlines have made it clear much stricter guardrails are needed when it comes to who is allowed to come into America.
The real question is, why were they brought into the country to begin with? In other words, why are we bringing people into the United States from parts of the globe, for instance, where pederastic rape is considered culturally acceptable?
Now, one of those recent headlines comes out of the state of Minnesota. That's where Governor Tim Walz is under fire after a massive $1 billion fraud scheme was uncovered by federal prosecutors, with dozens of Somalis convicted for running companies that were billing the state for social services that were never rendered, as well as stealing public funds. The New York Times out with this brutal headline over the weekend saying, quote, how fraud swamped Minnesota's social services system on Tim Walz's watch. And President Trump took aim at Walz in a Truth Social post, calling him incompetent and, quote, retarded, and also said he would strip temporary protected status from Somalians in Minnesota. Governor Walz fired back at Trump on Sunday, saying that he has no solutions and that all he does is demonize. And Aisha, as immigration is once again back in the national conversation, it's worth pointing out it's been almost 40 years since Congress passed any type of bipartisan significant legislation on the subject. Certainly feels like that is not going to change anytime soon. We'll send it back to you.
Okay, Bill Malugin live for us on the Hill. Bill, thank you.
And breaking news alert on that third world immigration pause. President Trump is arguing that some cultures are just not compatible with Western civilization. And senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner has more. Good morning.
And they saying basically this is the direct response to the 2 National Guard troops that was unalive by Raymond Noodle, basically who was an Afghanian refugee, in so many words, that worked for the CIA.
Jillian.
Good morning to you, Dana. The president told reporters aboard Air Force One that he does not want foreigners from what he calls third world countries coming to the United States at all anymore. Period. This is a sentiment he has expressed in the past, but we have not heard the president put it this bluntly in a long time, if perhaps ever. Take a listen.
That shouldn't be in our country. This one.
Can you give any
We
kind
don't
of
want
time?
them.
What's
We
the
don't want
long
those
time?
people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people. No time limit.
And then
Trump say we don't want those people.
We don't want those people. Do you understand that?
So whether this converts into actual U.S. foreign policy remains to be seen, but he explained his reasoning by saying these countries are without governance and they rely on criminals to preserve law and order. In the wake of an Afghan national murdering a service member in the National Guard and wounding another here in D.C., the State Department has hit pause now on all immigration from that country. They are also looking for legal mechanisms to tamp down on a much wider range of countries. They write mass migration poses an existential threat to Western civilization and undermines the stability of key American allies. One prominent advocate for Afghans who risk their lives to serve alongside Americans and fight the war on terror in that country says this is the wrong policy. Take a listen.
Everything that the president is saying about these folks is just wrong. Everyone was vetted before they came here, before they got on a plane, before they got, when they got to a third country, before they got here, when they arrived here.
So immigration officials, Dana, in concert with other seniors across the federal government, are re-reviewing this list of 19 countries of particular concern, taking a look at the way visas and other types of entry are allowed here into the United States. We'll see what comes next.
Yeah, Jillian Turner, thank you so much. Aisha?
Well, amid all of this, Dana, that Afghan national accused of shooting those 2 National Guard members in Washington is now facing a first-degree murder charge. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro announcing that upgrade after the death of one of the victims last week.
There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree.
Joining us now is Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy, a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Good to see you, Andy. It sounds like they're looking into radicalization sometime after he came here to the country, that he had contact with people back in Afghanistan. We don't know exactly what was communicated to him, what happened. We know that he was suffering from mental health issues. That's according to some reporting out there, that he was struggling with his mental health. He had isolated himself, sometimes in a dark room, couldn't find work for a year. It sort of creates the perfect set of conditions to be radicalized. Do you think we'll see perhaps more charges and more people pulled into this investigation?
Well, we'll obviously see more charges depending on what happens to the other soldier who was wounded. I think the indictment will come sometime in the coming weeks, and I expect we'll see many more charges. There's no indication that I've seen so far, Aisha, that other people are involved in this. I don't buy this whole, radicalization once he got here. I must say I've been following this closely since I prosecuted terrorists in the 1990s. When they say, he was fully vetted, I have to ask, vetted with what? We've spent like 20 years basically eviscerating the ability of the United States government to vet people by taking ideology off the table, taking concepts like jihad off the table. I don't know what they mean when they say he was fully vetted when he got here, so he must have been radicalized once he got here, because I don't know how we vet people.
I don't either. I mean, it's kind of sad, but we have no idea. I mean, no one's telling us what the process was. This is the Homeland Security spokesperson, Tricia McLaughlin, with us just a short while ago on the vetting process during the Biden administration. Listen to this.
This vetting was paper thin. They weren't doing biometric vetting. They weren't really doing criminal vetting, criminal screening, cyber screening, financial crimes. They weren't cross-referencing. They weren't looking at social media. So President Trump and Secretary Noem have completely overhauled this process to make sure we're diving in deep and seeing who are the people who are actually entering this country.
So, Andy, how do you vet someone properly from a third world country, from a country like Afghanistan that's now under the control of the Taliban? How do you vet them? And then do you continue vetting them while they're here? Because I can't imagine that we would have the manpower to continue monitoring or surveilling or vetting people after they've been given asylum.
No, that's a great point. I mean, this guy came into the country. He was one of 86,000 people that they jammed in all at one time. I think, Aisha, that it's a mistake for the administration to use the term third world, because they make themselves vulnerable to all kinds of claims that would be easily avoided if you point out that if you have a regime that's hostile to the United States, if you have a regime that even if it's not hostile, it doesn't have good, reliable record keeping that we could conceivably look into somebody's background with, and if you have people who come from an ideological culture that's counter-constitutional and hostile to the West, we don't want people from those places because we can't, in any kind of a reliable way, look into their background and figure that they will assimilate once they get here, which is what we want.
Yeah. Okay, Andy McCarthy, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hi, I'm Brian Kilmeade.
All right, so with Trump doubling down on that immigration pause, guys, basically, the Democrats gonna have something to say about it. Well, they most definitely did. Check this out.
Likely radicalized inside the U.S. humanitarian parole program during the disastrous 2021 withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. A caseworker raised red flags about this man before he was granted asylum earlier this year. So somebody saw something was wrong from when he was let into the country under Biden. The Trump administration says they believe he was likely radicalized inside the U.S. by connections from his home country. President Trump here.
We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country. That animal should not have been allowed to come into our country.
And in the wake of that double shooting, that ambush, the Trump administration has halted all asylum decisions until it can ensure everyone is getting properly vetted. The State Department has stopped issuing visas for Afghan passport holders and are reviewing green card holders from 19 countries of concern. The president also promised to strip citizenship from any naturalized migrant who undermines domestic tranquility. Borders are Tom Homan.
There's no way to clearly vet these people, 100% that they're safe to come in this country from these third world nations. President Trump's doing the right thing, reviewing every one of these people who came under the Biden administration and drilling down on them. I really, truly think that most of them are going to end up being deported because we're not going to be able to properly vet them.
So who are all these people in this country? Republican Senator Eric Schmidt will be in focus in moments. First, let's go to Chief Washington Correspondent Mike Emanuel. Mike.
Harris, good morning. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem spoke about what's been learned about the suspect's background.
Now, since he's been here, we believe he could have been radicalized in his home community and in his home state. So as we continue to talk to his family and his contacts, more details will be revealed and we'll release those when it's appropriate.
The suspect's identified as an Afghan national who allegedly drove cross-country from Washington state to launch the attack. 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom died on Thanksgiving after being shot in the head and the chest in the ambush. 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is still in critical condition. President Trump says he's spoken with both families and offered an update on the survivor.
With a 357.
Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it.
Shooting taking place last Wednesday here in Washington in broad daylight. West Virginia's governor spoke about the vicious attack against the National Guard members from his state.
All we know is that it was
a
really nasty hit job, and obviously this was premeditated, and so we're going to have to wait till the investigation goes forward. But I will say this, no one should have ever been put in that type of situation.
U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says charges will include first-degree murder with more expected. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the Justice Department will seek the death penalty. Harris?
Mike Emanuel, thank you very much. On cue, Democrats are pushing back against President Trump's asylum pause for certain countries.
This is a desperate attempt of the Trump administration to blame everybody else in the world and not accept any accountability. We should always review our vetting, but in this case, there's no evidence that there was something that escaped the vetting.
Let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you, I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists.
We're going to need some facts and
that guy right there. That's the Fort Worth. That happened in Fort Worth.
Her Jeffrey Epstein's mixed up in the past.
He was another guy that opened fire on people in Fort Worth, Texas.
Quite the timing from Texas's Jasmine Crockett there. One day before the National Guardsman shootings, police arrested an Afghan national who came into the country on that same Biden-era parole program. And he threatened to bomb a building in Fort Worth, Texas, and now faces charges of terroristic threats. Republican Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri, member of the Armed Services and Judiciary Committees. Great to see you today. So first of all, talk to me about the Democrat pushback on this asylum pause, this potential pause.
Yeah, I mean, this is what suicidal empathy really looks like. This is not an abstraction. This is a case now, two cases, where this open borders policy, no vetting under the auspices of humanitarian parole, which is what Joe Biden did to let tens of thousands of Afghanis in here, without any vetting, right? And those are supposed to be individualized reviews. That's what that parole process under current law is. But they didn't care about any of that, Harris. They opened the border up wide open. 20 million people are here illegally from just 4 years of Joe Biden, including more people like this guy. So I think the Democrats, they don't know how to talk about this because they actually believe in open borders. And so they'll try to push the blame off. They sound ridiculous. One of the, I think, senators you had in there actually was the guy that went down to El Salvador. Who beat his wife, a member of a cartel. So this is where they're at. And I think we have to be the adults in the room here and say, President Trump is doing the right thing here. We have to meet the mass migration that we saw in this country with mass deportations. We don't know who these people are. It's a national security threat. And it really hit home, of course, for those families as this guy assaulted and ambushed two National Guardsmen.
Real quickly, Senator, and then I'll move forward. So was the American public misled about the vetting that was going on under the Biden administration?
Well, some of us were ringing the alarm bells, but they attempted to silence all of that by saying, with the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan, right, which we saw under Joe Biden, it was compounded with this sort of disaster, too, of letting all these folks here without any vetting. Like, a lot of these countries, Harris, they don't have the records that we have in this country. We don't know who these people are. We don't know their backgrounds. And so the process, not just people who are walking across the border illegally through the help of the cartels, but when the government actually sanctioned people coming here by the misuse of this parole program, not knowing who these people are, it's criminal. And it happened, there are millions of people here under the same circumstances.
The New York Post has reported that DHS data show more than 5,000 Afghans have been flagged over national security issues since 2021. That's a big number. Former Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said this in 21.
Our mission is not accomplished until we have safely evacuated all U.S. Citizens who wish to leave Afghanistan, all lawful permanent residents, all individuals who have assisted the United States in Afghanistan. This effort will not end until we have achieved that goal.
Look, during this asylum pause for people, that the paperwork on that, the deeper vetting and all of that, is there an opportunity maybe for some hearings in the Senate to get to the bottom of what we were told as a public and what actually was happening?
Yes, and I actually would also point out that's one of the reasons why former Secretary Mayorkas was impeached by the House of Representatives.
Yes, and the 300,000 children he lost.
Yes, I mean, they knowingly violated law. There's a process for this to happen, and it's on an individualized basis. You don't get to just wave a wand and say anybody from these countries can come in here without any vetting. That's exactly what was happening. And so, again, the Democrats have much more empathy for somebody from a third world country. They don't know their background. It could be a murderer than they do for U.S. citizens who are being murdered. right? This Trump derangement syndrome has metastasized on so many levels, Harris. This is a tragic, tragic example. But I think the scary thing is, I don't think this is going to be the last time we see this. I think President Trump's taking the right action to do a full review and get people who shouldn't be here out of here. That's what the American people voted for last November.
All right. Well, the president is also dealing with a situation south of the U.S. with narco-terrorism. And we know he and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro spoke last month. Now, President Trump's words for Maduro are tougher and much more critical. The U.S. has taken out several alleged drug boats from Venezuela in recent months. And this weekend, the president took the fight farther, announcing that airspace above and around Venezuela is now closed, a move that the country condemned, citing colonialism. Here's the president.
We consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They send millions of people really in, probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems.
Does your warning
and drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything into it.
The New York Post summed it up this way: the conflict, Maduro, Trump's ultimatum to Venezuela thugs, step down or else. Senator.
Well, look, anybody who's a student of U.S. history knows that for a long time, the foreign policy of this country was to have the Monroe Doctrine, where we protect the homeland and we keep the Western Hemisphere safe for our countrymen, right? And this Trump doctrine now is sort of reasserting it. You saw with the Panama Canal, with Chinese having control of the Panama Canal, that they reversed course there after President Trump drew attention to it. And here, we're not going to allow a country that's facilitating the poisoning of 100,000 Americans every year through their drug boats and these narco terrorists. So President Trump, well within his Article 2 powers to blow these boats out of the water. I will point out, though, Harris, one of the crazy things that happened over the weekend, the Democrats, elected Democrats, not some online troll, elected Democrats have been saying it's okay to disobey orders. That's the first step. But what we saw happen this weekend through some of those same elected officials was to say basically to military men and women, look out, you might get prosecuted. This is not the language of we'll beat them in the next election or we'll win the argument. This is the language of a color revolution where you're calling on military men and women to disobey orders, and you put that on top of the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, the riots you see in the streets, the prosecution of a political opponent. The Democrats have completely lost the plot here, and the American people, I think, see that. But it's a very dangerous road to go down here to say you should be disobeying orders because we don't like Trump.
Yeah, well, when you run into Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, ask him if he would do that now. He served the nation. Good to see you. Thank you, Senator.
Thanks, Harris.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily.
All right. So, the Dems has something to say, as well as, the things going on with Venezuela, guys. All right. In other news, I spoke on him a little bit earlier. Luigi, whatever his last name, whatever his last name is, he most definitely had a court appearance today, guys. This is a little bit about what went on with him.
And this just
Mangione.
we're getting our
Luigi
first look at
Mangione.
Luigi Mangione inside court for a hearing in his New York State murder case. He's the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last year. Attorneys for Mangione are trying to get key evidence like his diary entries tossed from his state murder case. CNN's Kara Scannell filed this report just before heading into court.
Luigi Mangione is back in court this morning as his lawyers try to get some key evidence in this case thrown out. The focus is when Mangione was approached by law enforcement at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's there that his lawyers argue his constitutional rights were violated. They say the Altoona police searched his backpack illegally because they didn't have a warrant. They also say they violated his rights by asking him questions without reading his Miranda rights, that is his right to remain silent. So what his lawyers want to keep out of this case and away from his jury
he got Diddy lawyer
in the backpack, a gun, a silencer, and a notebook that had Mangione.
Mark Infilio, or whatever his name is, he's also representing Luigi Mangione. I seen a picture of him in court with him. I said, wow, he got a Diddy attorney.
His handwriting samples in there. The prosecutors say that was his manifesto and explained his motive for why he allegedly shot and killed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December. Mangione wrote in that notebook, book, Whack the CEO, an annual parasitic bean counter convention. He also wrote, it conveys a greedy bastard that had it coming. Mangioni's lawyers also want to keep away from a jury a statement that he initially gave to law enforcement when he identified himself as Mark Rosario. That's the name of the person who rented a hostel room that authorities say the shooter stayed in just days before United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was gunned down. Prosecutors say that nothing improper happened. They are expected to call as many as 24 witnesses. Mangione will be in court. He's been given permission by the judge to wear a suit. He's asked to have one hand unshackled so he can take notes. The judge has not yet ruled on that, but this hearing could last several days. Wolf?
All right, Kara Scudell, I know you're going to be heading into that courtroom, and we'll be checking back with you often. Thank you very, very much. I want to bring in CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson right now. Joey, break down what the defense is arguing for us right now. Why are they trying to get this evidence thrown out?
So, Wolf, prior to any trial, you have what are called pretrial proceedings. At those pretrial proceedings, the prosecution has to establish that any evidence seized was seized properly, that there was probable cause underlying any seizure. Here, the issue in dispute is a backpack. Why is the defense trying to keep it out? Because it has damning evidence and information, as Kara Scannell just laid out. You have a backpack that has a gun, it has the silencer, it has the manifesto, quote unquote, which gives the real intention behind this killing of the healthcare executive, and so it's very damning if the jury would see it, in addition to his identification. They are alleging that as a defense that it was an improper search, that the bag was not in his possession technically. It was on a table that was nearby. It posed no danger to them. They should have gotten a warrant prior to going into the backpack, and as a result of not getting a warrant, it would be illegal and improper. And the remedy, in the event the judge determines that the bag was seized and opened and looked into illegally, the remedy is to exclude that from the jury's view. The jury is not there today. It's just the judge, and the prosecutors have to lay out the information to establish that that seizure of the bag and anything associated with it was done properly. Now, the prosecution will argue that they had an emergency circumstance. It could have been a bomb or something else in that backpack. In addition, the prosecution will argue that it would have inevitably been discovered, meaning it would have been taken back, it would have been inventoried, etc. But the defense is alleging that, hey, in the event that happened, they still would have needed to get a warrant, which they subsequently did several hours later. Defense says, hey, it's too late. You open up that backpack, it's not coming in. Final point, Wolf, and that is there also, that's called a MAP hearing. Another pretrial proceeding is called a Huntley hearing. That is to determine whether any statements that he made, that is Mr. Mangione, were in fact made properly. Now, if you're going to question a suspect, we've all seen this, you have to issue them their Miranda warnings, but only if it's a custodial interrogation. That means they're in custody and they are being interrogated. Here, the defense alleges they should not have spoken to him at all, such that they would elicit information as to a false name or anything else, and that the statement additionally should be thrown out. And so all these witnesses are going to establish, the prosecution hopes, the propriety and legality of the search of the bag, the propriety and legality of the statements, and in the event they do, those statements will be shown to the jury. In the event they don't, the jury will not see them, they will be concealed, and the prosecution must go forward with other evidence, but not that evidence that was in the bag.
And that evidence is obviously very, very important. The hearing is expected to last several days now. Tell us why.
Well, generally, these hearings do not last several days. I think this case is a case like none other. Generally, these hearings last a day. Sometimes they go on more. But here, you have various jurisdictions. You have the Pennsylvania jurisdiction. I think we'll hear testimony as to the officers who initially approached him, where he was, why they searched the bag, what he was doing, why they felt the necessity of doing that. And so they have to establish it as the prosecution that the search was done with probable cause because they want that evidence and information in. Now, you don't have to show proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not that type of hearing, but you certainly have to give enough to the judge to show that it was proper, it was authentic, it was lawful, and it was predicated upon probable cause. In the absence of that, the judge will exclude, that is, prevent the jury from seeing this, but the trial will still move forward.
Very quickly, before I let you go, Joey, does the prosecution acknowledge they never told Mangione he has a right to remain silent?
Indeed, they do. But however, there are other arguments, even though they eventually did. But at the time that they were making an accusation towards him, if it's a custodial interrogation, doesn't mean you're in cuffs. But if you're not free to leave and they're asking questions that could incriminate you, you have to give Miranda. However, if you're simply investigating a case and not really questioning him such that you're eliciting guilty statements, you don't. And so there's a fine line with respect to investigatory information being supplied and incriminatory, meaning you're looking for evidence to incriminate them. The police say, we just needed to know what the lay of the land was, and that was the basis upon which we asked those questions.
Interesting. All right, Joey, thank you very, very much.
Let's get some expert insight from criminal defense attorney Robert Bianchi, who's also a former homicide prosecutor. Bob, thanks so much for being with us.
Make sure y'all take time to double tap that screen. If you have not, that's how you hit the like button. If you're on a mobile device, simply double tap your screen or click those 3 dots in the right-hand corner, hit the thumbs up button, guys. Also, take time to subscribe to the channel if you have not. Shout out to everybody in the building.
I wonder if you think Mangioni's lawyers have a strong argument to make for this evidence to be tossed.
Boris, I know that people tend to do like balls and strikes here in terms of where your ideology is, but I look at it as an attorney, and from the beginning of this, I've been extremely concerned about the constitutionality of this search. Now, we don't know a lot of facts, but I've been on a lot of murder crime scenes where I see over-anxious and understandably well-meaning police officers in a heightened situation. They're not thinking it through. Maybe they're not in contact with their prosecutors or lawyers, and it's natural and instinct to just kind of open the bag and take a look-see to see what's inside. It happens all the time. And the defense is essentially saying here, the Constitution requires that every search be done pursuant to a warrant, a judicial warrant. And there are some exceptions to that warrant requirement. And the defense is saying there are no exceptions here. For example, if somebody consents to having the backpack looked into, then that's an exception to the warrant requirement. So I hope that I'm not going to hear that they just grabbed it, they were excited, they didn't have probable cause, they weren't in fear, they weren't in danger, he was secured, and they just looked inside and then afterwards got the warrant. In New York state law, that may be a problem. You have an easier chance under federal search and seizure law.
It sounds like you think that if this evidence is tossed, the state is going to have a hard time finding him guilty.
Wow, this would be a massive blow to the government. But then again, let's keep in mind here, we have both state prosecutions and federal prosecutions, and what may be suppressed in state court, again, federal court's more accommodating the prosecutors. But the evidence in that backpack, even though you don't need motive to prove a homicide case, shows premeditation. It's got the weapon. The weapon is connected to the victim in the case. It shows a cold, calculated, premeditated murder. It is the lock that any prosecutor wants. Otherwise, they got to go without that evidence on a circumstantial case that's much weaker. In that case, it's going to be interesting to see, really, to be honest with you, Boris, when the law enforcement authorities get together, there's got to be a discussion. Is it better to prosecute them federally first or better to prosecute them state-wise? Now, if there's a suppression of the evidence in state court, you can bet the federal case is going to take precedence.
I also wonder about the other evidence his attorneys are trying to suppress, and it involves statements that he made while at that McDonald's in Western Pennsylvania. His attorneys are essentially arguing that officers didn't advise him of his Miranda rights the right way.
Shout out to Miss T for being a member for the last 13 months.
Not as crucial as the search and seizure, for sure, because that evidence in that backpack is the lock. But of course, if the prosecution wants to use his statements, Miranda requires that you, one, be in custody, or the person would have reasonably believed they were not free to leave. That's element number one, and that they're asked a question. So the issue in this case is going to be, and we just don't know the facts yet, was he in fact under the reasonable belief that he was not free to leave? And was
Luigi
he asked
most definitely looked like a model.
given his Miranda warnings? And if that happens, then
he has garnished a lot of support as well.
He gave his Miranda warnings is subject to being suppressed by the court. But again, in this particular case, if I were a prosecutor and things were on the line, I'd rather lose on the Miranda side of the case and make sure I win on the search and seizure side, because that's where the case is going to be won by prosecutors. What's in that backpack?
Bob Bianchi, appreciate the analysis. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, so we got an update on Luigi, guys. He is finna get ready to start trial. Basically, a lot of people, some people say that he is innocent. Other people say he is guilty as charged. I seen somebody down there in the comments that say Luigi look like a model. He most definitely does. And guess what? A lot of his defense money came from supporters, people basically sending him money to fight this case, guys. So we see that his attorneys, his lawyers are basically trying to get a lot of the charges thrown out of court, man, like the backpack situation that they just talked about. We most definitely have to keep our eye on that. We found out that today the mass shooting in Stockton, California, guys, could be gang related, you know, to from some sources. The chief, I mean the sheriff, the sheriff department basically said they don't know if it is or if it's not, but the lady who is the spokesman or whatever for whatever agency she worked for, she said that it was gang related, guys. So it's yet to be proven, but it's most definitely a lot of speculation about that whole situation, to where 3 children were unalived along with a 21-year-old male. We had the ages earlier. I done forgot exactly. I think it was 8, 9, 14, 8, 9, maybe 12 and 14, and then a 21-year-old adult, guys, that were unalived in that situation. We most definitely heard Caroline Levitt, basically 17. Okay, there we go. I knew we had them. Thank you, Lars, everywhere. I forgot the ages in order as they go, so forgive me, you know, if I had got one wrong, but most definitely children caught up in the crossfire of some gang activity is most definitely devastating, man. Very sad situation. Prayers for the family members, the moms and dads who may have lost little ones. Okay, we got 8, 9, 14, and 21. Those are the exact ages. 8, 9, 14, and 21 years old, guys. And like I said, our reports say pretty much that it was gang related, man. Such a sad situation. We heard Caroline Levitt. We heard from Trump basically standing on the freeze on immigration, meaning he ain't let nobody in from third world countries right now. Yeah, man, it's a lot going on, man, and we'll most definitely keep y'all posted on everything going on everything news. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe to this channel, man, because anything in the news that catches my attention, I present it to y'all so that we can all get caught up on some of the events that are going on outside the doors of your house, guys. Shout out to all the new subscribers. Shout out to my old subscribers. Shout out to all of my members, man. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Shout out to my moderators. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for showing up day to day to make sure that this chat stays clean, guys. I appreciate y'all the most, man. Yeah, well, I guess that we at the end of the show, man. If you ain't hit that like button, please double tap that screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe. Shout out to my guy, Mr. B, for being a member for the last 13 months. Absolutely, Mr. B. I appreciate y'all as well, man. All right. So like always, Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I catch y'all on the next one. If anything else happens to happen, I'll most definitely keep y'all posted. Turn your notification bells on to all so you don't miss nothing when everything news goes live, guys. Shout out to y'all. I'll catch y'all later. Hold on, one more thing. Hey, Miss Paulette, one more thing. Yeah, we had a lot of racist comments in the chat earlier. Hey, man, we don't do racism over here, man. We are all God's people, you know, most definitely, no matter what the skin color is, man, and people come in all shapes, colors, and sizes, guys. Yeah, so it ain't a black or a white or a Hispanic or Chinese or Jamaican or none of that type of stuff when you come over here, man. We just most definitely taking it all in and giving our opinions. All opinions are accepted. Just keep them respectful in the chat and you'll have no problems. Respect the others that don't think like you think, you know, and most definitely don't cast judgment on people because we don't. We are most definitely people friendly, people of all color, all shapes, all sizes. I just wanted to say that. I catch y'all later, man. Make sure y'all most definitely turn those notification bells on, and I'll catch y'all later, man. Y'all stay safe out there in this crazy world.